Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper from SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt today to break down 3 games from today's big NBA slate. I think there's 10 games on the board here, but we'll be keying in on 3 games. Before we get into those games, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. Not a lot of promos for this show specifically, but I know this is an NBA show, but we can't ignore the big MLB season coming up. There's a free 2023 MLB betting package or betting guide over at sportsmemo.com in the deal section. It is totally free. Like I said, it includes 100 pages, over 100 pages of actionable info. We also got the live odds pages that I utilize every day when I go through the card. We got free picks and analysis from all the cappers over at sportsmemo.com on a daily basis as well. And you can see the leaderboard. You can see how everyone's doing from 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, and all that stuff. So head over to sportsmemo.com. All the information there is free. All you need to do is input your email address. So head over there after the show. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go as well. It only takes a couple clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously here. With that said, let's get Matt with me here on the panel. What is up, Matt? Missed Monday show, man. How'd you guys do?
Not so good, honestly. Not so good. I lost Kyrie Irving on the hook. My best bet was Kyrie Irving, 6.5 assists. He ended up with 6, but that was one of those spots, and I kind of did want to touch on that, so I appreciate you bringing it up. Because we talk about everything so early in the day, and I was going Kyrie Irving assist due to the fact that Luka was supposed to be out. You know, he got that, I believe, 16 technical foul, and then it was rescinded. Yeah. So he was allowed to play again. And the only reason I like Kyrie Irving there was because Luka was going to be out. I thought the pace of play was going to increase. Kyrie Irving usage was going to go up, a little bit of everything. So that's one thing I wanted to comment on is we do the show so early in the day that our viewers still need to track what's going on. And honestly, my DMs are open. If you're ever interested in if I'm still running a play after some news has broken, feel free to DM me. I'll definitely get back to you. I'll let you know if I'm still running it. Ron and I pride ourselves on being incredibly transparent. So that's just one thing I wanted to say as well, because right now especially, there's a lot of pieces that are jumbling throughout the NBA. A lot can change in an instant. And if you're ever intrigued about something, shoot us a DM. We'll get right back to you.
Yeah, there's a lot going on like in the last few games of the season here as far as load management, things like that. At least we got teams like Portland who are able to tell us right away, hey, Dame's shut down, you know what I mean? But now we're seeing a lot of teams here. To be honest, I feel like it's sort of a checkers game right now. Like one team will see who's sitting for the other, and then they'll be like, all right, well, we can beat them without this guy, so let's arrest this person. So there's a lot of stuff going on that you really got to track as you go through the day. But for the most part, there's a lot of focusing in on those games where there's a lot of motivation. Kind of talked about that right before the show here is where you want to key in, right? Because you can tell where their head is at for the most part. So there's a game today. We can get straight into it. The Heat and the Knicks, that is pretty important. I think the Heat are 6th. The Knicks are 6th in the ratings, and the Heat are 8th in the standings there in the East. So there's a chance that there's only a few games left here, but there's a chance that they could flip flop by the end of the season. So both teams really got to take this to heart here, take it pretty seriously. So going into this game here, the Heat are 40-36 on the season. They're on a 2-game losing streak, both by double digits as well. They did come off of that loss last night. Jimmy Butler did miss that game. I think it was I don't think he's hurt. I think he just rested on the first leg of back-to-back games. Obviously today, second leg of back-to-back road games here for them. So the travel spot, also fatigue. But like I said, Jimmy Butler, the key guy there, did not play yesterday. On the Knicks side, 43-33 on the season, coming off a 22-point win over the Rockets. Lost 3 straight prior to that, though. So maybe they're turning around here. Last of a 2-game homestand. They do have the Cavs on Friday in Cleveland. So the travel spot there probably could be looking ahead to that game there. From an injury perspective, Brunson considered questionable right now. Like I said, Butler, I feel like he's going to play today, even though right now he's considered questionable. Lowry may sit tonight after playing yesterday in Toronto. So a few things to note there as far as injuries or player statuses. From a matchup perspective, the Knicks have taken the season series so far 2-1 straight up and against the spread. Also 2-1 into the over in the 3 games that they played. The Heat did win the most recent matchup in Miami, which was just last week. So I guess the Knicks are looking for some quick revenge here, Matt. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a game me and you were talking about a lot before the show here, because we're trying to figure out, what team does this game mean more for? And in my eyes, I think this might be the Miami Heat. And a lot of it is just because they're getting 5 points, in the NBA today. 2 good playoff caliber teams getting 5 points. That's really the reason that I'd be backing the Heat here. And, again, we were talking about this before the show, Ron, and with the New York Knicks, they're pretty secure in their playoff positioning. Yes, they could go back a little bit, like we were talking about, and this might be the last important game for the New York Knicks, or the game that they kind of go full go here. And as for the Miami Heat, they've lost 2 games in a row here, and they're in 7th place in playoff standings at this point in time. And 6th place is the Brooklyn Nets, okay? And they're separated by a half game. And we know how important that 7th place to 6th place is. Getting to that 6th place, you're out of that play-in tournament, and you're automatically in the playoffs. You don't have to play anyone to get in, let alone maybe one win or whatever that may be. So for me, I'm looking at the Miami Heat here with the +5. I think the Heat could be a live dog here. But obviously, you need Jimmy Butler in this game. If Jimmy Butler is not playing in this game, there's a 0% chance that I would be backing the Miami Heat, because he is that guy who steps up in those key spots. And it's not just scoring points. It's facilitating. It's rebounding. It's defensively. It's manning up the opposing team's best guy. So you 100% need Jimmy Butler in this spot. But for me, I think the Heat are the more desperate team here. This is not an official play for me at this point in time, but I'll be honest, I am flirty with it. I am definitely considering adding Heat +5 to my card at this point. But yeah, I right now, at this point in the season, I'm really looking at the teams who need these games. They have to win these games to improve on playoff positioning, to secure a spot, whatever it may be. So for me here, I think I'm leaning the Heat with the +5. But I still think the Knicks this would be their last game to give full effort, to run everyone full minutes, things of that nature. So I wouldn't count out the Knicks just yet, but I am with the Heat as long as Jimmy Butler is declared in.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, initially, right before the show, even before we talked, I was kind of looking towards the Knicks here because a lot of the numbers and analytics kind of point in their direction, especially in recent form, right? The Heat, they've been struggling defensively for the most part. I think they're like 25th in defensive rating the last 10 games. The Knicks, they're not too far behind there, but for the most part, they've just been struggling, like really surprisingly, right? Because they've been a top 10 defensive team all season long, and all of a sudden you see this drop off here. The one thing too to know as well, that the Heat typically get a good chunk of points off turnovers, but the Knicks are one of the best teams as far as taking care of the ball and limiting points off turnovers as well. So if the Heat are going to struggle to create turnovers or steal the ball against this Knicks team, the Knicks might have some trouble the Heat might have some trouble tonight. But the key thing there is Brunson, because he's the catalyst there for that offense. He's the one that really takes care of the ball quickly when he starts or anything like that. Like, he's more of a run and gun type point guard. Really doesn't facilitate. He doesn't key in on the half court offense. Really, they push the pace when he's there. So I think it's going to be a big difference between Brunson playing and Brunson not playing tonight. Obviously, Butler, his status as well is questionable, but I really do expect him to play. I think some of the things that you mentioned as far as motivation, it does seem like the motivation is more so on the Heat side here to stay out of the play-in round. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But like I said, there's just like a lot of numbers and analytics and even some of the team trends that point in the direction of the Knicks here. But hey, when
Yeah.
you balance everything out and things kind of cross over, it's tough to make a bet on. But yeah, and like I said, I think you kind of talked me off of the Knicks here. I know I was leaning towards the Knicks in that section, in that area, in that game. The numbers going towards the Knicks, but man, it's hard to deny that motivation on the Heat side here. Anything from a prop perspective in this game here?
This is one of those spots where I think I would have to look Jimmy Butler. I was talking about Jimmy Butler beforehand, and he's just one of those guys where when the Heat are in those must-win situations, he seems to get it going with all three stat categories. So if anything, I would look at Jimmy Butler points, rebounds, assists. I wouldn't really single out one specific category because the Knicks are a good defensive team, and they're very good on the interior. You have to make outside shots against them, stuff like that. But once again, Jimmy Butler is that leader for the Miami Heat. I look at this as somewhat of a must-win situation, and even if they don't get that win, I think they can keep this close enough. And I think Jimmy Butler is the guy that leads them there, especially with this Miami Heat at this point in time. So I would definitely be looking at Jimmy Butler.
I like it. All right, let's move on to this next game here. We got the Clippers and the Grizzlies. Clippers 40-36 on the season, coming off a double-digit win over the Bulls. First of a three-game road trip, first of back-to-back games here against the Grizzlies as well. They got a rest in between, but they do face each other again on Friday. The Grizzlies 48-27 on the season. I think they're locked in on that second spot, if I'm not mistaken. But they're on a 7-game winning streak. They're really killing it right now on both sides of the ball. I mean, offensively and defensively. And some of those games were without Ja Morant as well. Second leg of back-to-back games coming off of that win versus the Magic yesterday. Real quick, Matt, I did have the Magic yesterday. Somehow squeaked out a backdoor cover in that game there. So Franz Wagner, he hooked it up. From an injury perspective, Paul George, Brandon Boston, Marcus Morris out for the Clippers. Norman Powell questionable. I think he's been in and out of that lineup quite a bit here. For the Grizzlies side, Zaire Williams and Steven Adams are still out. Morant is probable. He did say yesterday. Matchup wise, Clippers did win the first matchup, but failed to cover. Morant missed that game too as well, which is why the Clippers were 7.5-point favorites in that game. Now they're 4.5-point dogs on the road here in Memphis. I mean, it seems like Ja Morant is that the difference maker for the Grizzlies this season. Last season I talked about this on my show is the difference between Memphis without Ja last season is the total opposite this season. Last season, they were like 20-6 against the spread or something like that without Ja. This season, they're 6-12 against the spread. So he's definitely the big difference maker here. And there's a difference between how the Clippers, play home versus road as well. What are your thoughts on this game here, Matt?
Yeah, this goes back to kind of what we've been talking about as well. It's like who has the motivation to play here? And before the show, again, we kind of spoke on this. And I actually think the Grizzlies still do have some motivation in this spot. And the reason that I think they have some motivation is, they've already clinched a playoff berth. They're fairly secure, the Grizzlies, in second place, while the Clippers are in fifth place, I believe. So the Clippers can still go up and down within the standings very easily with a loss. But with that being said, I think I'm still backing the Grizzlies here because going into the playoffs, I think this Grizzlies team wants to generate that chemistry with Ja Morant in the lineup. And, Ron and I have spoke on this many times on the show. And when you reinsert a star player into a lineup, generally that first game or even the second game, you fade that team because it takes time to generate that chemistry, get the ball movement, the flow going once again. So I think the Grizzlies want to have that connection, have that flow going into the playoffs. And I think this, kind of like the Knicks, kind of what we talked about there, this might be the last game that Memphis fully runs their guys, like Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., all the key Grizzlies players. I think they'll still get full minutes against this Clippers team just because this is a playoff style matchup. This could be a team they see in the NBA playoffs as well. And even though the Clippers have motivation in this spot to go out, get a win, to try and rise to the ranks in the standings, I don't think they have the manpower to do it. You're putting a lot of pressure on Kawhi Leonard against one of the best defensive teams throughout the entire NBA. And once again, I think we're going to see a very aggressive Ja Morant. Ja Morant sat out the last game. He's going to be fully rested in this spot. And that's a dangerous Ja Morant. When he's got his legs under him and he can attack that basket, he can create that contact, get that whistle going, stuff like that. That's a very, very dangerous Memphis team. And after everything that happened as well with Ja, I think he's going to be very motivated to close the season and enter the NBA playoffs. And that's also why this Memphis Grizzlies team, well, I know they're second place now in the Western Conference, but this Grizzlies team is somewhat of a sleeper team for me to take down the Western Conference, because a lot of people are forgetting about Steven Adams, and Steven Adams is the guy that secures that middle. He is very great defensively. We know how good he is rebounding, but one thing that people sleep on with Steven Adams is his passing ability. He's actually a very good facilitator from the 5 position. So again, this Grizzlies team is a great sleeper team at this point in time, I think. And in addition to that, if I were to go anywhere with this game, it's actually with the Grizzlies and the -4. So I think I'm going to be with the Grizzlies here to cover against the Clippers.
I like that look a lot, actually, and that's kind of the way that I was looking as well. A lot of the trends are pointing in that direction. One of the biggest things here is the home and road split without Paul George in the lineup for the Clippers. I have it up right here. Their net rating. So the net rating for the Clippers with and without Paul George on the road this season, with him +2, without him -14.2. That's a 16 point net rating gap with and without him on the road here, and that's going to be probably one of the bigger factors in this situation here. And most of it's on the offensive side of the ball where they struggle here. And the Grizzlies, they are on the second leg of back-to-back games, but what I did look at was they are 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the spread, 2-1-1 to the under when they're the favorite on the second leg of back-to-back games here, averaging 118.8 per game, allowing 108.8. Grizzlies also 5-2 straight up and against the spread versus conference opponents at home as favorites. And then if they're a team with a winning record as well, so they play tough against these top tier teams here in the West when they're at home. And pretty similar numbers here, averaging 117.6, allowing 108.4. Seems like that might be like the area of where we see the Clippers here score, because another thing to mention as well, this is a revenge game, right? The Clippers did win that first matchup, or the most recent matchup here. Grizzlies at home in revenge situation, 9-0 straight up, 7-2 against the spread as well. Again, only allowing around 108 per game. So a lot of things are pointing towards the Clippers kind of not scoring 110 for the most part. The other thing to mention, this travel situation here, the Clippers have been at home for at least three home games, and then now they're a road dog. In this specific situation, 1-3 straight up and against the spread there, averaging around 110 per game. And like I mentioned, that big difference with Paul George out of the lineup on the road, everything's really pointing towards the Grizzlies here. I would say if you want to pivot and don't know if the Grizzlies will cover and the Clippers defense maybe shows up here, maybe pivot towards the Clippers team total under instead. I think that might be the way to go as well. Triple J, he played yesterday. Ja Morant didn't, but Triple J fouled out. He only played like 20-something minutes, so he's going to be fresh here to play some strong defense and really close up the paint there. Anything from a prop perspective in this game? I know with the Grizzlies and Ja back, they typically play a faster pace.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought that was a great point that you made on Jaren Jackson for sure. When you foul out like that, you get a little more rest going into the next game. And honestly, if there's someone that I'm looking to, well, 2 guys, I would say, and this might be a little chalky, but it would be Ja Morant for one. He's coming on fully rested. He's going to have his legs under him. I think he's trying to get some momentum going into the playoffs, like I was saying before. And this is a Clippers team that doesn't guard that well against the point guard position. They haven't all season long, and there's no one tougher than Ja Morant. And then on the other side, if someone is going to make this team go, it has to be Kawhi Leonard. It absolutely has to be Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers really don't have any other choice because I don't believe they have the manpower offensively to get it done. If Norman Powell is questionable, then that also means even if he does play, it's most likely on a minutes limit. How many minutes is he even going to get? How fresh is he going to be? And, without Paul George, without Norman Powell, that's their second and third option. So I think this Clippers team really has to kind of go around Kawhi Leonard. It could be a points, rebounds, assist spot, just because wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies throw some traps at Kawhi on top of that, and he has to pass out of those traps. So, and then as we know, Kawhi Leonard, when he gets it going with the points, he tends to attack the boards a little bit more as well. And I think he could definitely do that tonight. So yeah, for me, it would probably be Ja Morant on the Grizzlies side and Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers side. I like both those guys.
I like it. Yeah, I feel like that pace up play here will be there for the most part. It's just the defense, what defense shows up. So I was wondering what your take was on the props there, just because of pace of play. All right, Lakers and Bulls last game here. I think both of these teams as well have a lot to play for. Lakers 37-38 on the season. I believe they're ninth in the West here, and between 8th and 11th outside of the play-ins, it's about a 1 game difference here. So it's really tight here in the Western Conference, especially in the play-ins. If you go up to 4th, so 11 games back for the Suns, and we look at 9th here for the Lakers, they're 14 games back. So there's only a 3-game difference here with 6 games left on the board. Or 6 to 7 games left for these teams here. So all these games for the Lakers are really important for them to make the playoffs. And it's a really tough schedule because this is the first of a 5-game road trip for the Lakers. Bulls 36-39 on the season. They're also in the playing rounds, but they're 10th, dead last in that spot there. So they got a lot to play for as well. They're coming off of the loss to the Clippers that we just talked about. 3rd game in 4 nights, 4th game in 6. Fatigue probably going to be fatigue probably going to play a factor here for the Bulls here. Injury perspective, Caruso, Javonte Green questionable. On the Lakers side, Mo Bamba is out. LeBron is questionable. AD and D'Lo are probable. I have a feeling LeBron does go tonight. There's no way that he misses. I don't think he misses any of the rest of the games this season here. Bulls won and covered the first matchup, 118-108 in LA. So Lakers looking for revenge. They're fighting for their playoff lives here. What are your thoughts on this one, Matt?
Yeah, before we head into this game, I want to be honest with everyone. Since 2023, my Moneyline 4% best bets are 10-2. I'm up over 30 units, and this is a 4% Moneyline best bet for me. I'm just going to be honest because I greatly appreciate everyone tuning into the show. Hopefully we can get another win here, and I'm going with the Lakers in this spot, and there's a lot of things that are pointing me to the Lakers. For one, like Ron was saying, they are starting off a road trip here, and I generally like to back teams when they're trying to get their first win on the road. There's also the revenge narrative. The Chicago Bulls beat the Lakers in LA 118-108, and that was on Sunday, and the Lakers haven't played since Sunday, and the Bulls played the following day against the Clippers. So the Lakers also have a rest advantage in this spot. And when, we've talked about this numerous times, when the Bulls faced off against the Lakers, that was LeBron James' first game back. And time again, we've talked about it. When a star is reinserted into that lineup, it tends to be a fade spot just because of all the adjustments that go on with the team. And it's even more odd when a guy like LeBron James has a minutes limit because you have to shuffle things. Certain players are getting, 30 minutes and then they're down to 23 or something along those lines. And now a game has been under them. They're going to have their minutes more secure. I think LeBron is going to get full run. And in addition to that, I just got to mention, you guys have heard me talk about Anthony Davis because it's either he plays amazing or he takes a nap. And against the Bulls in the last game, he took an absolute nap once again. Like, Anthony Davis cannot shoot only 8 times in a game. That's ridiculous. He went 6 of 8 from the field, 15 points, 9 rebounds. And going against Vucevic, I got to imagine he's going to be far more aggressive tonight because that is the key mismatch in this game. It's Anthony Davis against Vucevic, and he should exploit that matchup. And I think this is going to be a matchup that LeBron gets out and runs in addition to that. And, we've talked about motivation coming into this. And I think the Lakers have the motivation by far over the Bulls because for the Los Angeles Lakers in this spot, a half game separates them from 8th place and 11th place. So a lot can happen with just one loss. And then as for the Bulls, they're totally different because they're fairly secure in their positioning right now. And for 11th place, they're actually separated by 2.5 games. So it would be difficult for this Bulls team to drop back. They would have to lose almost every single game that they have. So for me, it once again is the Lakers. And then when you go to the teams, okay, you go to the teams. For one, Alex Caruso is questionable coming into this spot. And if Caruso sits, I like it even more because he's going to be that guy manning up D'Angelo Russell. And D'Angelo Russell has been doing an exceptional job facilitating that Lakers offense. You know, he's been scoring from the outside. He's been facilitating in terms of passing. And then again, you have LeBron James coming back. You have Anthony Davis, who should dominate down low. And then when it comes to the bench, I like the bench for the Lakers way better as well. You know, you got Jared Vanderbilt, not coming off the bench, but he's a key defensive guy. He can match up with Levine. He can match up with DeRozan. And then again, going back to the bench, you have Austin Reeves. You have Dennis Schroeder. You have Malik Beasley. You have some guys who can really come in off that bench and somewhat light it up. And like I was saying before, the revenge narrative is there on top of that. You look at this Bulls team, and it's like, really, like, is it going to be Patrick Williams coming off the bench? Kobe White? Like, I don't know. I just personally have a lot more faith in this Lakers team, this Lakers bench. And let's be honest, the best two players on the court at all times will be Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And when you're in desperation mode, when you have to go out and win a game, I'm going to back the best two players on the court. So for me, it's going to be the Los Angeles Lakers money line. And like I said, this is an official play.
I like it. I'm with you there. I mean, my best bet is on this game as well on the total perspective, but a lot of agreement as far as, you know, your reasoning behind taking the Lakers here. With that said, let's just get into the best bet section. I can go first since we're talking about this game already. Like I said, I do like the Lakers in this spot as well. They aren't road favorites often, but when they are 3-1 straight up. And really at this number here at -2, -2.5, it's really close to saying, you know, they just got to win this game. So I think it's a smart move for you to just take the money line and instead of taking the spread. It's not too expensive there, just a few dollars more. So I think Lakers also on non-conference road games following a home game. So that travel spot from LA to an Eastern Conference team, it's only happened twice so far this season. They are 2-0 against the spread. Both times they were dogs because they faced the Bucks and the Celtics. So if they're able to cover against those guys, they were able to actually beat the Bucks outright in that spot as well. They should be able to take care of business here against the Bulls. If we look on the opposite side and we look at the Bulls as non-conference home dogs, 2-5 straight up and against the spread, averaging 113.3, allowing 118.1. And if we look at the combined score for most of these trends here, they're all below what we see as far as the total tonight in this Bulls and Lakers game. So for me, my best bet, I know you like the Lakers. I like it with you, but I also like the under. I think the total is going in the opposite direction here. Even not only just the trends, but also like recent form. The Bulls being 28th in pace last 10 games, third in defensive rating, one of the best defensive teams post All-Star break, and it has a lot to do with, you know, the addition of Pat Bev and also you know, you talked about Alex Caruso being a defensive minded player as well. They've been a great team as far as playing the under post All-Star break. If we look at from a league wide perspective as well, since 2017, when a team plays another team in back-to-back games. I know for the Bulls it's not back-to-back, but for the Lakers it is. They're playing the same team 2 times in a row. They lost as a favorite and now they're a favorite again against that same team. The favorite in that situation, 86, 59 and 3 against the spread. That's a 59.3% hit rate on the spread, but it's even better to the under, 89, 55 and 4 to the under, which is 61.8% since 2017. So a lot of it tells me that this team here makes the proper adjustments. They make the defensive adjustments, right, and limit their opponent. So to me, the under is the best bet for the game. I agree with the Lakers here with Matt. If you want to pivot, you could also take the Bulls team total under. I think there's a lot of different ways you could tackle this game here, but for official best bet purposes, the under 227.5. Like I said, I think the total's gone up from open. I think it's going in the wrong direction. Matt, let's go to you here. What do you got going on over at sportsmemo.com, and what is your best bet for the show today?
Yeah, guys, I already have 3 plays loaded over at sportsmemo.com, trying to get some of my packages out a little bit earlier. And definitely the plays that I'm looking at today, I really like. Me and Ron and I were talking before the show, and it's actually a pretty profitable slate today. At least I believe. Monday and Tuesday were a little iffy, and today I think it offers a little more opportunity. And for the best bet today, we are actually going to be going with Devin Booker over 27.5 points as he faces off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this is a spot I really like Devin Booker, for one, because they are adding back Kevin Durant. And, Kevin Durant was out for an extended period of time due to rolling his ankle in warmups and one of the weirder injuries. But this is great for Devin Booker because it takes so much attention away from him, and it forces a lot of teams to take their top defender and move him to Kevin Durant. And in this matchup with the Minnesota Timberwolves, the guy who will most likely be on Kevin Durant, and let me say this, I do think KD will be on a minutes restriction, but he'll still probably get around 22 to 24 minutes, and he'll run the majority of that with Devin Booker. And because of that, Jaden McDaniels will be forced to go out on Kevin Durant, I personally believe, because the other ones would just be weird matchups. You don't want Karl Anthony Towns on Kevin Durant because then he can get in foul trouble, and he just doesn't move his feet that well. Obviously, it's not Rudy Gobert because Rudy Gobert is going to be on Ayton, and then you're left with Mike Conley or Anthony Edwards. So I believe Conley and Anthony Edwards will be on Devin Booker today, and McDaniels will take Kevin Durant. And because of that, that makes for a far better matchup for Devin Booker. He will have the height advantage. He's going to be able to get to his spots more often than not. And in Devin Booker's games with Kevin Durant in the lineup, he's had 37.7 assists and 6 rebounds against the Hornets, 35.6 assists and 5 rebounds against the Bulls, and 36 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. And forgot to put the team in that one, but you get the point. At least 35 points in every single game with Kevin Durant in the lineup. This is also a Minnesota Timberwolves team who's giving up 115 points per game while on the road. So I think a lot of that will be from Devin Booker here. And once again, with Kevin Durant in the lineup, it also spaces the court out that much well. Now you're not worrying about Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig, a lot of the times they're just going to leave him alone. It's kind of like the Russell Westbrook treatment. Shoot the shot, we'll live with the result. Now, if Kevin Durant's out there, you can't do that. So this court is spaced so much better. Devin Booker can get to the mid-range. He can find his spots. He can elevate, get his buckets. And, I just think this is a great spot because this is also a Phoenix Suns team that, when you're in the Western Conference right now, if you're not the top 2 teams, you need to keep winning. Everyone is separated by a half game to around a game and a half. So the Suns need to keep winning here. And I think a lot of this is through Devin Booker. And then lastly, this is a Minnesota Timberwolves team who I believe they're undefeated on their road trip. I think they've overdone it a little bit. So I think this defense could be a little lax in this spot. And because of it, Devin Booker gets out, takes advantage of it, hits this over 27.5. And as you can see with Kevin Durant in the lineup, he's very good with PRA as well. But for me, I just think it's a scoring night from Devin Booker. So I'm going to be backing Devin Booker over 27.5 here.
My bad, guys. Yeah, I was saying I agree. I like that look because taking the over makes a lot of sense with the total going from 231.5 to 235. So it seems like the books are expecting a lot of points here. So taking that points prop makes a lot of sense to me. Also, your dive on what he did with KD in the lineup, man, that's some dope stuff. All right, well, with that said, guys, we did break down 3 games. We did give out our best bets as well. Once again, make sure you head over to sportsmemo.com. We got all the deals going on, all the packages over at sportsmemo.com. But also the MLB season-long package or the picks package, 100 pages of actionable info before the MLB season starts. I believe it's tomorrow, right? Opening day tomorrow. So there's a lot of stuff to prepare for the remainder of the season. Obviously, it just starts there, but we're closing out the NBA season here strong. For me, guys, I think last 35 plays, it's around 63% right now. So hopefully we keep going and close out the season strong here. I know Matt's been doing well as well. With that said, next show on Friday, I think we have Tony Finn on the show with us from wagertalk.com. Till then, good luck with our reaction. Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wager Talk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wager Talk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, This year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.